Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to our council meeting tonight. I do want to make a point of reference and a note. Mayor Aaron is still under the weather. She sends her regards. I know Coach Aaron is in the audience. Thank you, Coach, for being here. But I just got the phone with her, and she is feeling better, but she still has a little bit ways to go, but she sends her regards and hate that she's missing this council meeting. So we send her our thoughts and best wishes for speedy recovery. I'd like to lead us in our prayer tonight. So if you would, please stand, and from the prayer, we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Mr. McCullum, call roll, please.
Councilman Roberts.
Here.
President Logan.
Here.
Councilman Hinton. Here. Councilman Davis.
Here.
Councilman Hogg.
Here.
Under presentations, we have one formal presentation from the Shirley House from the Friends of Historic Northport. And I'll give the floor to Mr. Chuck Gurdeau.
Well, thank you to the council and to Judge McCollum. We still call you Judge?
Call me for when it's time to eat.
There you go. And staff and everybody here, appreciate you giving us a few minutes to make a presentation. How many minutes do I have, Jay?
Well, this is a formal presentation, so you are on the agenda as a formal presenter.
Oh, good. Okay,
yes, sir.
Thank you. I won't take too long. And I think I have no idea if does this work? I have no idea how to make it. Sir? There we go. And the little red light. Good. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you for giving me a few minutes to make a presentation on the historic Shirley Place, downtown Northport. Of course, it was built in 1838. It was given to the city in 1997 by Mr. Marvin Harper. And, of course, he passed away in 2009. Very good friend of mine and good friend of a lot of us here. I know Jay spent many, many hours down there with him, just, learning about the house and about the history of Northport, as have many of us. So the house was basically not used for several years or minimally used in 2016. The Friends of Historic Northport opened it for Shirley Place. And during that time frame, there was also monies available from the state to begin a renovation process, primarily of the basement, what we call the lower level. Of course, this is a photograph of the house today, and then of the house back in the 1940s. So a little bit of change, but not a whole lot. Very much keeping to the history. And again, just a brief timeline of the history of Shirley Place project, I call it. The original source of funding came from the state. It was $77,000. That was actually $100,000, and then some of that was used for another project, and it was $77,000. repaired the front porch, the roof, and all those things that you see there, mold remediation and asbestos in the attic. And then in 2018, Max Snyder wrote us a grant. Thank you, Max. From the Alabama Historical Commission, $20,000. Received that, and that was used during the 2019 funding year to remove the entire contents of the house. And if you've ever removed the contents of a house and put it into a pod, that's not fun, but it was interesting. Then we removed all the asbestos flooring. That was not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Repaired and replaced the walls damaged by mold and water damage, and then stored the contents back in the home until the next grant funding process began. And then in 2019, we wrote a grant for $20,000, and I think we received $15,000. So electrical was repaired, paint supplies repaired, replaced the appliances. Currently, as of even today, there's new water lines going in, and then window shades, among other little small things we won't even get into. Of course, that's during this year, 2020. And then 2021, we hope to write a grant for that funding year, which would include exterior windows, gutters, drainage, that sort of thing, a lot on the exterior. Okay, and before I go any further than that, I want to say a couple things about, we have some of the members of the Friends Board here. Y'all raise your hands. Appreciate you being here. Nathan, you're on there. Okay. And thank you for everything that y'all have done. And a special thank you to Benny, wherever he is. There he is. Benny really is the expert on fixing old structures. And starting in March, Benny and I and some other, including Nene, spent a few hours down there, and Jody, we started tallying up our hours. Okay. We ended up, as of today, going on to page 3, 510 hours since March. So you know where at least Benny and I have been the last 2 or 3 months, is a lot of that down in working in the basement of the Shirley house. Also, thanks to Ed at Public Works and Brooke and Earl. Again, Max for writing the grants. And also to the Utilities Department. They're putting in the water. I don't know where JP, he's not here. But they're putting in the the water lines today. So we appreciate all those, and I'll miss somebody, but I just want to thank everybody for your help in that. Okay, so I wanted to go through each of the rooms and just show you what's been done before, during, and after. And just take a few minutes. Okay, so that's the dining room before. Okay. And then that's the dining room during. And you notice the floors, those are asbestos tiles. And you just cannot operate in that kind of environment. So those had to be removed. And that's after the removal of the asbestos tiles. And that is today's, I actually took that picture yesterday. So we have gone through, put everything back just like it was, cleaned everything. We have the new shades in. I mean, just like it was before. And we actually painted a much brighter color than what was in there before. So it makes the rooms look twice as large as what they used to. And there's another photograph. And then in the bedroom, now I'll say this about the dining room. The dining room was the easiest one to repair, okay? All right, so that's prior to the work. That's during the work. We had to take out all the walls they were gone. Now these were what you call ponderosa pine, pretty valuable wood, but it was all gone. So we removed all of that, and we put in mold-resistant board, what they call G-board. So we won't have that problem again. And that's what the bedroom looks like today. And then the den, that's before. Get ready for the during. That's the during. And you'll notice, let me go back. See on the right-hand side, oh, I got the little red button right here. Okay. This was wall covering. Who knows how old it was? But, you know, it was all under the ponderosa pines. It was quite old. So we saved some of that. Although Benny wanted to throw it out. But I told him we had to save it. Yeah. And then you can just see the layers of walls of cement and wallboard and all that good stuff. And then there is the room without the asbestos and the G-board, and that is the room put back together. And then the kitchen, that was before, and that's during. We took everything out, sinks, all the appliances, all gone. And that's the kitchen today. Everything put back together, new appliances, new sink. Benny put the sink in by himself, wouldn't let me help him. So it probably would have looked a lot worse, by the way. Joey helped you. I knew somebody had to help you. And there's a picture of it looking through the door. And then that's the current work out in the yard, putting in the water lines to connect the bathroom and the kitchen back. And again, thank you to utilities and to the city. Okay. And again, we had 500 hours of work, and there's more to come too. We believe this to be a very valuable historical tourism asset to the city, as it has been for many years. And we're just, very glad to be a part of getting it put back together and looking the way it should be. And so we like to consider, at your pleasure, future use of the structure. Go ahead and get it open, at least on the weekends, so people can enjoy it. And I also have another one. You're just going to love this one. Okay. Because I always have to throw a curveball at you. Okay. So this is the backyard, which there's nothing there. And this is our idea of a building for the future, which would have a meeting room, have records in it, again, where people could meet. You could even probably have a city council meeting if you wanted to. But I would call it a welcome center, possibly for Northport, something to that effect, and give the Shirley Place and the whole area down there a whole lot more purpose than it has now. So, and by the way, my son, he's the one that drafted up the building there. I didn't have to pay him anything either, so it was pretty good. Okay, and that is it. But I appreciate y'all taking a few minutes to look at that, and again, thank everybody for their hard work in the city and the friends and all the volunteers. If you have any questions.
Well, Chuck, thank you, and thank you to the board and all the volunteers, everybody, the man hours and woman hours that went into it. I knew it was a labor of love because I think you went by and I think the bottom half was completely torn out like the pictures depicted. It's a great finished product. I did have one question. I guess it's to you and your board, and I guess Max. The proposed welcome center, would that be some opportunities for some grant money to where if could we get some state level funding maybe for some
Yeah.
funding for welcome centers in certain communities?
Yes, sir. There's in the past, I had to check current status, but there have been monies available for tourism assets and cultural assets like this. Historically, it probably wouldn't get the whole project paid for, but there are some avenues we can research, and we can definitely look into that if that's what the council wants us to do.
I would. I mean, I would try to pursue it if we can, just to see if there's an opportunity to some state level grant funding to try to help it. One other question too. I know if council had any further questions about it. It's a great end work. You know, we talked about a larger, big plan for Friends in terms of other historical structures like the Clemens House, and
Right.
is that still something you?
That's still on the board. Of course, I think last year about this time, you know, we brought our 5-year plan to the council, and that's still all a part of it. And the Shirley House and the museum and the Clemens House and the schoolhouse and all that is still all part of what we look at a comprehensive plan for heritage assets.
All right, members of council, you guys had any further comments?
I just want to say I thought it looked very good. So
Yeah,
I
very,
really
very good
appreciate the
work.
Thank
Job
you.
well done.
Thank you. And that's not because we have matching jackets.
I think Marvin Harper would be quite pleased.
Yeah.
Yes, he would come back.
I hope he would. I hope he would. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, this is on the National Historic Register.
Yes, sir. In fact, most of the downtown is on the National Historic Register. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Item 5 was approval of our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
Motion to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hinton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton. Yes. Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 6, formal visitors to address our council. This is totally separate from the citizen sign-up sheet. We have one visitor, Mr. Roy May. Come on up, Mr. May. Thank you so much for coming to our council meeting. Please state your name and address for the record. And again, thank you for getting on our agenda.
Good evening, President Logan, council members. My name is Roy May. I reside at 2606 Deer Antler Lane in Northport. I came to address the council today because about a couple of months ago, the Northport Trash Department came by and picked up my grandson's basketball goal off the side of the street. And I called and asked them why, and they told me, well, they had to look into it. So I filed a claim. And on the claim, they denied me, and they sent me a letter stating that my basketball goal was in the right of way and too close to a trash pile. Well, I've been living there 32 years. There's never been a trash pile anywhere close to where my basketball goals were located. And I don't know where they got the information from, but I came to see what I could do about it. Well, in the meantime, I had called Mr. Davis a couple of times, and today he finally got back in touch with me. But he told me that I need to go before the claims committee. But I had already set this up where I come speak to the council about it. So I guess my resolution is I'll go and speak to the claims committee. But also, I live in the Deerfield subdivision, and I also want to ask this. How can someone come in your subdivision and just add another subdivision to it without consulting the people that lives in the subdivision? Right now, we have some construction going on that's next to us, which has came through the division, through the subdivision, and now it's making another road into the subdivision that they are building. But I want to know, is that part of the planning committee, or is that part of a plan that has already been set forth, or is it just something they decided they wanted to do?
Let me answer the first question, Mr. Mayor. You know, originally for the claim.
Right,
So, and I'm glad Mr. Davis's office called you back.
right,
And so, and I've spoken to you last Thursday, I think it was. You and I spoke, and
that's
I
correct.
think you spoke with Councilman Hogg briefly. So the claim initially got denied, and I think our staff says, hey, let's try to get some more information and bring it back. So when you start that process, Ron, and when we do start the process, can we make sure Councilman Hogg and everybody is aware about when they meet, so we can kind of get a resolution to that to get this solved and fixed?
That's correct. Mr. Mays called. We've exchanged phone calls. He's talked with Kim back and forth several times, and he's also, in the letter that I wrote to him, I suggested he get in touch with, since it was Public Works, to get in touch with Brooke. I know Brooke has tried several times to get in touch with Mr. May, and that the good thing is I now have his cell phone number. He gave me that this morning, so we shouldn't have as much time. Like I called this morning, he was not in, and I know one time Brooke called, he was cutting the grass. So now that I have his cell phone number, we can have a better chance of catching him and talking to him. And what we will do is let him come and speak with the claims committee and let us review it. This is not ripe yet for the council to be here. Like Brooke's not here tonight, you don't have the claim in front of you. And so we spoke this morning, and I told him that if he would wait and let us meet with the claims committee first, then if he wasn't satisfied, that he could come back to you guys.
We'll work on some satisfaction and resolution to that initial claim, because I know you mentioned to me you had some estimates and you went through that initial process. So
Yes.
I want to make sure that you are given the full attention. So I appreciate it. And that's the first one. The second one was the subdivision just to the west of Deer Antler.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to call on Ms. Julie Ram, Planning Director, to make sure she explains it. That way I'm not saying anything out of step.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's Trestle Square, and that was approved by the Planning Commission. I don't know the exact date. That would have been last year in 2019. They do have two access points into Deerfield where those two substreets are, but their primary access will be off of Flatwoods Road.
Yes, I understand that, but, I mean, you come to our subdivision, and you just hooking up subdivision up without consulting anyone that lives in the subdivision? I mean, I don't understand that.
Well, all of the adjoining property owners that directly abut that property were notified. That's one of the regulations that we have to follow with the Planning Commission.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do have your cell number. I think Councilman Hall's got it as well. So before you leave, we're going to make sure we at least get, everybody's got numbers exchanged. I know that, but we'll make sure we get the claims process started back up so we can get a better resolution of what we got initially.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. May. Thank you for coming up.
And
Thank you.
I'll call you tomorrow, Mr. May, like we talked about earlier. Thank you.
Unfinished business is item 7A1. It's a second reading of a rezoning of 3.07 acres from RS3 and AG to RS3 and C3 located on Robert Cardinal Airport Road. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. This request comes from Brilliant Coal Company. They are requesting the rezoning of 3.07 acres. That is from RS3 and AG to RS3 and C3. The request does meet all necessary acreage requirements for rezoning. Staff did receive one comment from an adjoining property owner. I think that's in your packet. This does come with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to grant the request for rezoning of 3.7 acres, or 3.07 acres from RS3 to AG to RS3 and C3 located on Robert Cardinal Road? I'll make that in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg,
Yes.
motion carried.
Second item is a second reading of a permanent resolution fixing the cost of demolition and authorizing the filing of a lien at 4501 Lakeshore Drive. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. The ordinance for demolition was passed on March the 16th of 2020. The total cost associated with that demolition is $6,615.95.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? That's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Third item is a second reading of a permanent resolution fixing the cost of demolition and authorizing the filing of a lien at 1203 12th Street. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. On February the 3rd of 2020, the council passed this demolition ordinance. That total cost for the demolition is $4,783.80.
Thank you. I'll move to adopt that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
New business, 8A1 is a first reading of an ordinance amending the Northport Municipal Code pertaining to automatic step raises. Again, this is directly out of our administrative committee led by Councilman Hinton.
This is the first reading only and comes with favorable recommendation from the administrative committee. Northport's pay plan has several pay grades. Each pay grade has 20 annual step raises, 1 and 1.5%. In the past, this annual step raise has not always been followed by the city. This has led to problems with newly hired employees making higher than the city employees with several more years of experience. These issues have been addressed this year with some equitable adjustments. Also, the annual step raise has been moved to the employee's anniversary hire date, which spreads out the cash impact of the city throughout the entire year, rather than all on the first pay period of the new year. This ordinance would make this annual step raise automatic without any further action by the city council. However, it could be suspended for lack of funds or other reasons if necessary by the city council. Just a few notes, personal notes. I think we have excellent employees, and this move should help our retention rate, which means fewer new employees to train. Think about training. An example would be a new non-certified policeman, which costs the city approximately $60,000 to train and develop. And we have a good bit of turnover in this area. This move will keep salary distance between the beginning employees and experienced employees. And this move means that salary step raises will be a priority, budget time. Personally, I think this is the right thing to do for our employees. So I offer this ordinance for a first reading.
Thank you, Councilman Hinton. Again, I think we all can agree making that move to guarantee the automatic step raises. Again, with the peaks and valleys of the economy, again, it was prudent and smart to make sure that we evaluate it on a yearly basis. But again, that was offered up by Councilman Hinton from Administrative Committee. Next, we have a public hearing. It's concerning consideration of a revenue sharing arrangement by and between the City of Northport, Alabama, and Choice Hotel Brands, Sleep Inn, and Mainstay. Ron Davis will act as our legal counsel in absence of Mr. John Ray. Ron?
Yes, that's correct. Mr. Ray's represents Pell City, and their council meetings are on the second and fourth Mondays, and which works just fine for us until we move our council meeting. So I'll try to fill in. This is, I think I saw Ward. I don't know if Mr. Patel's here or not. Okay, good deal. If y'all will hang around afterwards a few minutes. To give you just a thumbnail sketch before we have our public hearing, this is going to be a sleep-in on the 1871 property on, as you go out toward the airport on that section of the property. It is going to be about an $8 million capital investment to develop this property. It will have 22 equivalent full-time jobs. Hopefully most of these people will be from the city of Northport, and it will be built and ready and open within 24 months. The incentive, we have talked and worked with Mr. McFarland on. There's going to be a $50,000 floor they don't do sales tax, they do lodging tax. And so to protect from what you want to do is start one thing and you pull money from an existing business. So there's going to be a $50,000 floor. And then anything after that in a 12-month period will be split 50-50 with the developer and with the city. So the first $50,000, let's say you go start January 1, the first $50,000 that they bring in lodging tax stays with the city of Northport. If they do another $100,000 above that, then they would get $50,000, and the city would get an additional $50,000. And that will go on and restart every year for 10 years or until they collect $500,000, whichever comes first. So it caps out with time or total. So they'll get the total amount would be a $500,000 incentive over 10 years, and that would be that. So that's generally the structure of this, and it's open now for public hearing if anyone has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Ron. By state law, going through Amendment 772, we are required to open the floor for a public hearing for any member of the public to speak for or against this. I know the developer is here, and the managing developer, Mr. McFarland, with his client is here. So by law, I'll open the floor up. If there's any member of the public wanted to come speak for or against this particular agenda item. While we're waiting, I know we do have a video. We're going to kill the sound on it just because of tech difficulties a little bit, but this is the proposed rendering of this project. Again, floor is still open. Some of the elements, and Ward, you can come up and speak at any time if you get ready, but I'll try to do my best. But I think some of the elements of this proposed 2 hotel in 1 is a new concept for Choice Hotel. Just give you a reference point, the one that is built right at the old Jerry's Cleaners on River Road in Tuscaloosa, right next to it, that's the Choice Hotel brand. So this one encompasses 2 hotels in 1. It'll have an extended stay and then your typical short-term stay hotel. Again, front lobby and all that. So again, I'm trying to narrate, but you can kind of see the pretty picture speak for itself. But again, floor is still open. Anyone want to speak for or against this? I think, Ron, we did have it in the contract, again, with the floor, making sure that they meet that floor dollar amount, and then the actual ceiling time or total. So
That's correct.
22 full-time jobs, have the ability to increase that with some indirect jobs coming forth through construction or other ancillary jobs. Ward, where exactly, and I want to make sure we get the, where exactly is it? Is that at the corner of Airport and Jemison? Yes, sir, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ward McFarland at 846 Pembroke Lane in Tuscaloosa. The location of this is going to be on the west side of the property where Airport Road runs. There is currently an access road that has been built as a part of the 1871 development. It is one lot south of the corner of that intersection. So it actually would have a primary entrance off of Airport Road.
All right, thank you.
Anything else I can?
That's it.
All right, thanks.
All right, floor is still open. If I don't see anybody else wanting to come up, I will hereby close the floor for the public hearing. All right, Ron, our next step, I guess in the interest of time, if we needed to suspend the rules, but I'll let you go and kind of lead us into the next agenda item.
Yes, we have 2 resolutions of a permanent nature. The first is to approve the agreement between the City of Northport and the Shopping Center LLC, which is the developer, and we'd ask you consider suspending the rules and then voting on this first resolution.
All right, I'll make a motion to suspend the rules in order to immediately consider authorizing the tax revenue sharing and incentive agreement by and between the City of Northport, Alabama, and I'll say Shopping Center LLC. All right, that's in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, rules are suspended. Is there a motion to approve that resolution authorizing the tax revenue sharing and incentive agreement and between the City of Northport, Alabama and Shopping Center LLC?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hinton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, Ron, the third item actually is the validation and lawsuit. Again, this is the second step in 772. So once you agree to do the tax sharing obligation, there is a validation lawsuit regarding that same issue. Would you explain?
Yes, Mr. President, this would allow us to do an obligation certificate and also file a validation suit. Authorizes us to do that under Amendment 772. Allow us to proceed with this. I'd also looked at some surprised faces. I would think that the name Shopping Center LLC would have already been caught by someone else, but very good catch, Ward, on that. But yes, this is ready for suspension of the rules on this second permanent resolution and then for action by the council if it's the council's pleasure.
All right. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules in order to immediately consider authorizing the issuance of, and again, we'll fill in the blank on Series 2020 Limited Obligation Certificate of Indebtedness of the City of Northport and approving other financing matters, including the filing of the validation lawsuit in regards to that certain tax revenue sharing and the incentive agreement by and between the City of Northport, Alabama and Shopping Center LLC. I think that's right. Okay. That's in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Carried.
Is there a motion to approve that resolution authorizing the issuance of that same Series 2020, which includes limited obligation certificate of indebtedness by the City of Northport and approving all the financial matters in association to, including the filing of the validation lawsuit with regard to certain tax revenue sharing and incentive agreements by and between the City of Northport and Shopping Center LLC?
So moved.
That's a motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second? Thank you. Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
AB1 is a resolution authorizing our city administrator's office to enter into a 24-month contract agreement with Alabama Power for installation and maintenance of 2 flock safety license plate recognition cameras. This is out of Chief Burton and PD.
Motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. This was an agreement with them to purchase some camera equipment that would aid us in investigations of possible, I guess, any kind of investigation. It's a pretty good system. Gives us access to tag. It's a tag reader, so any tag or any car that would pass by this camera would be recorded.
Are those mobile, Chief?
No, these are stationary, but they do have a mobile option. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did we determine already, Chief, just the locations, or we hadn't got those?
Well, we have one location that I'd like to get, and that's right there at the bridge, because we have a lot of traffic that goes over
Right.
over that bridge and back in. We can look at another location as well.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item again is a resolution authorizing the Northport Police Department to enter into a substance agreement with ALEA to accept grant funds associated with the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Program. Chief Burton?
Yes, sir. This is an agreement with Leah, where we are already doing the job. We're investigating internet crimes against children, and we've been doing that for years. but now they want to partner with us and give us additional funding to cover equipment and overtime.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? That's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Third item is a resolution authorizing the agreement with Citizen Serve for permitting and licensing software. Mr. Snyder?
Yes, sir. This resolution will authorize an agreement with Citizen Serve to develop and implement a new permitting and licensing software program for the city. This will cover building permits, sales tax, lodging tax, business license, and citizen access portals. This was a previously budgeted item for fiscal 20. It's actually going to be at least $50,000 below budget.
Part of the streamlined Northport.
Yes, this will definitely help us streamline community planning, business development, and economic development.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve that resolution authorizing that agreement between Citizen Serve for new permitting and licensing software and authorizing our administrator's office to execute all necessary purchases and requisitions regarding?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 4 is a resolution appointing the mayor's designee, election manager, and absentee election manager, and an election committee to assist with the upcoming 2020 municipal elections. Mr. McCullum.
Well, if I could find it, I'd read it out. I think it's in our packet. As you know, we have to appoint prior to the election committee to oversee the upcoming election. And we would offer, and I think it's in your packet, the members of this committee, and it would be, Whitney Dubose as the election manager, Harry Cameron as absentee election manager, and then the members of the committee would be Darren McGee, Jordan Brown, Julie Ram, Ron Davis, and he is the ex officio along with myself.
Judge, do you have any experience in running elections? Okay. All right. All right, is there a motion to approve that resolution appointing the mayor's designee election manager, absentee election manager, and election committee to assist with the upcoming 2020 municipal elections? That's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton. Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hogg.
Abstain.
Let me, if I could, make one brief comment. We do have the upcoming Republican runoff election, and hopefully we'll be able to gain some knowledge as to how the state and the county is going to deal with the COVID situation on election day. So that is a challenge that we know we will be facing with our election in August, but hopefully we'll get a little insight coming up to that election. And they're also going to be assisting us not only with our equipment and all, but they also will be working with us as far as the getting the poll trying for that election as well. Those that are willing to serve, which we know will be a challenge.
Thank you. Next item is a resolution appointing members to the newly retooled Northport Redevelopment Authority. Mr. Snyder, again, this is coming out of our development office, but again, this is also with working with retail committee as well. Max.
Yes, sir. This resolution will appoint 6 voting members and 3 non-voting ex officio members to the Northport Redevelopment Authority. excuse me, all previous terms have expired. These will be all new appointments.
Your time's up.
I have a sick dog at home, and that's the reminder to give him a pill. Yes, this will retool the Northport Redevelopment Authority and get it back off the ground and going. The city identified this as important to the potential economic recovery from COVID, but also long-term economic development. This has a very positive effect on the city.
Thank you, Max. And just to piggyback off of that, this was a group that was pretty heavily involved in the early 2000s, doing some small-level economic development on behalf of the city. Again, it will work in concert with the city of Northport, but still have enough autonomy where it would make some decisions and recommendations in regards to development, existing businesses, how to improve what we do in terms of business relations, and also the resources that we can pull from Northport, public and private. So again, this redevelopment authority is, again, it's been around. It's just being retooled and some fresh ideas and some fresh eyes into this new group. So we have six, but I think Councilman Roberts, you wanted to mention.
Just a quick question. Are we going to consider staggering the terms? You said all the previous had expired. Nothing worse than everybody on, everybody off.
I'll check. The reason I did it is because state code calls for 6-year terms. I may need to get in the bylaws a little more to figure out if we have a little flexibility within the city. You're able to stagger the initial terms, but based on what I read in state code, and I can work with Ron too if we need to stagger some of these and see if we can. That's the reason it's showing like it is.
I think we ought to, even if you do 3 with 3 and 3 with 6, I think we should stagger the terms.
If state code allows it, if it doesn't allow it, I guess that would be something that state legislature would maybe have to amend on our behalf, I think. But I didn't see the staggering of the terms, but I did know that it's a total of 7, I think, based on a city our size.
Yes, no more than 7. 4 is the minimum, 7 is the maximum.
Okay.
What I guess we could do, and I'll check with Ron on this, is go ahead and stagger the terms now, and then if we have to correct it later, we can come back and correct the terms, just so we make sure we get everybody on the board.
Any further comments, Councilman Roberts? Or?
No, sir.
All right. Again, there are 7 total. We have 6 here. We've got 1 or 2 citizens. Again, these are citizens of Northport. Got 6 total here. We will address the 7th person probably at a later date to try to bring in a full body of 7 to keep that number at an odd number and keep it in step with state code. Again, these are separate, voted on separately. The first one is Kevin Allman. Kevin is Assistant Athletic Director, University of Alabama. Lives in Northport again. Offers a wealth of knowledge in terms of community and some forms of economic development from the university standpoint in the athletics office. Again, the first one is Kevin Allman. So is there a motion to approve that resolution appointing Kevin Allman as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors with a term expiring on June 30th of 2026? Again, the asterisk would be staggering of terms as fit.
I'll make that motion with the understanding of staggering of terms.
All right, that's a motion by Councilman Hoggs. There's a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Second name is Jamie Conger. She is a attorney here locally. Lives in Northport, an attorney locally that does economic development from the legal standpoint. Again, Max, if you had anything else to add by Mrs. Conger.
I believe she actually practices criminal law, but she has an economics and political science degree.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve that resolution appointing Jamie Conger as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors with a term expiring June 30th, 2026, with the understanding that these terms may be staggered?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Roberts. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hinton. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton, yes. Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next name is Giovanni Gomez, the owner of Jalapenos, again in Northport and Tuscaloosa locations. Giovanni serves on the many different boards in terms of being a business owner and brings a wealth of knowledge in that regards to the restaurateur experience-based economy. So again, is there a resolution approving Giovanni Gomez as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors with a term expiring June 30th, 2026, with the understanding that those terms may be staggered? That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next name is Bruce Higginbotham as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority's Board of Directors. Term expired June 30th, 2026. Bruce is a practicing professional engineer in the city of Northport. Is there a motion to approve and appoint Bruce Higginbotham as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority's Board of Directors with a term expiring June 30th, 2026, with the understanding that those terms may be staggered? That's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
I can't believe he said yes. Sorry, had to have a little bit of levity. It was getting a little, yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next name is Mr. Ricky Sherrod. Mr. Sherrod is a business owner. He also serves as the Board Diversity Chair in the Chamber of Commerce. Ricky agreed to serve, and he brings a wealth of knowledge in terms of private business owner in his respective business. Again, working already with Mr. Giovanni, they actually know full well exactly how to keep the business lines of communication open in our minority community. So again, I'll make a motion approving Mr. Ricky Sherrod as a voting member to the Northport Redevelopment Authority's Board of Directors with a term expiring June 30th of 2026, with the understanding that that term may be staggered.
I'll make the second.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg, second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton. Yes. Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Carried.
The sixth name is Mr. Steve Steele. Steve is a banking manager president, formerly with BBVA. I think he has now moved to Synovus Bank, correct? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Steve will be leading in terms of our banking concerns and our financial interests in this regard. So again, is there a motion to approve the resolution appointing Mr. Steve Steele as a voting member of the Northport Redevelopment Authority Board of Directors with a term expiring on June 30th, 2026, with the understanding that that term may be staggered?
I'll make that motion.
That's a motion by Councilman Roberts. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton.
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Max, would you give us a brief synopsis in terms of the ex officio? And again, these are just three that we have now, but the ex officios may expand as we move forward with the board.
Yes, we're going to add some ex officios who will be non-voting members to the authority. Right now, we have the mayor's position, the city council president, and the development coordinator, all for the city, named as ex officios. They will serve in an advisory role and a facilitating role when necessary and possible. Like you said, I think there are some other names that we may add later on, but we just want to go ahead and get these ex officios on there so this board can get started.
Thank you, Max. Also, make a point of reference for the record. Again, we do have one more slot that will make 7 for our particular board, so we're still vetting 1 or 2 names to make sure we have a well-rounded board. So we will bring that back to council very soon. Again, Max has given a synopsis regarding the 3 ex officios. And again, these are whomever is serving in the capacity of the mayor of Northport, whomever is serving in the capacity of Northport City Council President, and Northport's development coordinator will serve as non-voting members initially as 3 ex officio. Again, these members will expand as we move forward with our board and working with those members. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Roberts. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton. Yes. Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Consent agenda, there are 10 items. They range from minutes from the previous meeting, bill listings, travel and training, and again, PO requisitions for our utility systems, and again, our public works. Is there a motion to approve that consent agenda as printed? That's a motion by Councilman Hinton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
President Logan.
Yes.
Councilman Hinton. Yes. Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 9, reports of special committees to council. If any member of council wanted to report from their respective committee.
Mr. President, from the Finance Committee, we had a Finance Committee meeting last week, and I apologize for not having an overhead. The status of the city finances right now is we're projecting about $1 million short to our budget, okay? That just means the budget that we created for last year. City sales tax have been fairly strong, but the county sales portion has weakened. There's been, we haven't really seen any issues with zero tax filers from the standpoint of we're not seeing a rush for folks that can't pay their portion of the taxes. Water and sewer customers over 60 days have increased. However, that total amount of money is fairly insignificant, I think would be the best way to say that. We're not really seeing additional delinquencies. Everybody who has an issue has been working directly with the city. And even though we projected $1 million shortfall, I think last year when we did the budget, we put a challenge to the staff to come up with a cost cutting, and actually we expect our expenses to come in anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 million below where we are. So I appreciate the fact that the staff, Hardy, everyone took this seriously. We didn't really know where the city was going with the finances. Some cities are much worse off than we are. We won't know where that ends up. I will have to say that in some cases we had to freeze expenses, freeze positions, hiring, but that was in lieu of starting layoffs and furloughs that we see with other business segments. We still have our capital projects that are untouched. We're still going to move forward with those capital projects. The 1 cent sales tax, and I have a second note on that one that I'll discuss. We still can use that for the variety of elements that we have, but with a little bit of uncertainty about what's going to go on for the next, if we all had a crystal ball, we were getting everything from COVID 2.0 to the next new disease or whatever. I'm highly recommending, based on $1 million shortfall to our budget, and that the fact that the staff has found so much in probably what was low-hanging fruit on the expense side, we probably should reserve $1 million for next year out of the 1 cent, and that is just quite frankly being cautious. I don't believe anybody knows what's going to go on. As far as I can read, university towns are absolutely unclear about what they're going to do. Several smaller universities have already canceled their sporting events. We're 8 weeks from school, and I haven't seen a plan on what we're going to do for school. So I would recommend that we take $1 million out of the 1 cent and put it into reserve, just because we don't know. The city's been doing really well on our tax side, but 60% of our revenue is from sales tax. If we lose 20% of our businesses, just as a round number, that's $1 million in revenue from business taxes. And if those businesses go out of business, and you've got, you may have a question about whether paying property tax as well. So that's my recommendation for the next budget. We do not anticipate revising the budget at this point. We believe that the city is doing everything possible to keep our costs down, and we don't see any future need to take drastic actions at this time. So it's hard to predict. And along the lines of the 1 cent, when we first rolled this out, we tried to make it, and this is in a form of something for council to consider, and we can then bring it forward for the next council meeting. When we set this up, we tried to set it up so that the money would be used for those extra activities. I'm not sure if, as Ron says, I was overly cautious or overly whatever. I'm recommending that we go from 4 categories to 3, because I think 2 categories overlap. And quite frankly, we don't need to be very complicated in this process. Nothing changes about the bucket of money that we are reserving. I just believe we have 2 categories that probably overlap, and the recommendation would be to leave the parks, leave the responsibility, which allows us to take care of debt, takes care of surplus, paying off things. And then the rest of the bucket where Max, I think we had rejuvenate and identity, which is all of our things that we want to do, from facade improvements to Max's thing we're doing with the logo and reinventing, and that should be 1 bucket. And then what I would recommend is that you always have 2 buckets that are filled. I think I might have made it a little more complicated than I wanted to. And then the last part of that, to ensure that that money is remains separate, we believe we should treat it as we do gas fund. It should not be in general fund. It should go into a separate account. It makes the accounting much easier from finances standpoint, and you can't mix those funds with general fund. So the last segment on the changes are for, and I'll get with Ron for the language, but that would be my recommendations to probably improve the use of the 1 cent tax. The other thing we were going to consider, sorry, and I had a PowerPoint and I left out of work, so I apologize. We also made it difficult on ourselves when we said the money had to be spent. Well, it doesn't make sense if you have a multi-year project and it costs you $1 million every year, then you should allow that money to roll with the project. You have assigned that project, whether it's for green space, whether it's for downtown improvements, but that money should carry along with the project. You shouldn't penalize yourself because of COVID or weather or anything that delays projects. So that's what we're going to look at doing, is to make it more user-friendly, make it easier on the city to track, and make it more visible.
All right. If you don't mind, I'm gonna clean it up just so I can kind of let the people know. So, Councilman Roberts is chairman of our finance. So Councilman, again, I know you mentioned the shortfall. This is really, it's not a shortfall to say, hey, we are out of money, because the city's doing pretty good financially. We have looked at some of our sales taxes this time a month ago and this time last year, and we're actually somewhat outpacing where we were.
We're about 9.5% ahead of last year. We just unfortunately are $1 million less than what we thought our budget would be.
That's right, and that is a typical. That's a typical. I say typical, but it's typical what we're about to do in terms of making sure you set aside those funds to anticipate another valley, I'll call it.
Yeah.
So the shortfall you were referring to basically says we are looking for an anticipation in some level of a drop. So we want to make sure we head it off before it becomes an issue. Therefore, you go through staff and go through normal, typical budget reductions as they normally should. Found those monies, and I'll move toward the buckets. All right. So the 1 cent, we initially set out with 4 different categories or 4 different buckets, with the understanding that no money will be used from the 1 cent to general fund. That's a no-no. We're not going to do that because we're actually doing pretty good financially. So I want to make the record plain, because people will automatically move out and say the city's broke. Nope, throw a wet blanket on that one. So the 1 cent will be totally separate. Instead of going to 4 buckets, we have 3 buckets, 3 categories, because one of the buckets basically overlap, which is the same thing. That's identity and rejuvenation. The responsibility bucket is where we pay down debt service, and we actually been doing pretty good over the last couple of years doing that anyway, without, in that respect. So trying to clean it up so that way I can kind of, for the record, going from 4 to 3, and then the multi-year projects, rolling those in. Once we do a project, we commit the funds to it, and we don't decommit funds from a project.
Yeah, the way the current thing that we wrote is basically if you get to the end of the year and you haven't spent the money, it automatically goes to debt service and reserve. And that, while that mechanism should remain in place, what it didn't anticipate was multi-year projects, and we shouldn't penalize ourselves for having multi-year projects. It's rare that we do anything in 1 year, quite frankly. I also believe that it'll help a lot with sewer and water projects, with road work, where you can plan multi-year, as opposed to what do I have to spend this exact year. It makes you a little more flexible and probably a little better at running your business.
All right. Also, too, Councilman, I know the county sales may be dipping, but ours, since I think we're more grocery and
We're fairly flat. Actually, we're fairly strong. Quite frankly, liquor tax sales are up. I'm not sure that's a real good thing to use as an indicator, but I think that's more because the ABC stores are closed than anything. But our sales tax revenue is good and strong. It's the county contribution portion that we see weakening.
okay, and we're just anticipating for that in our own
I
mechanism.
think it would be prudent to reserve a mill.
As it relates to the county, countywide tax, the county gets a lot of use tax from equipment purchases and from manufacturing, and we don't have a lot of manufacturing in our corporate limits. Wish we had more, but we don't. So we're heavily dependent on our sales tax. But the countywide tax is off. We share that revenue based on a percentage, and as a result of industry, manufacturing, having dropped somewhat, then that has impacted the countywide tax pretty significantly.
Yeah, I think just to echo that, Judge, most of the manufacturing here for automotive, of which I work in, most of the companies have seen as much as a 90% drop in revenue for some of the months. And so some of that, even though it is a special tax circumstance, when you're talking about a $100 million plant, it still generates a lot of revenue, and if they're not running. So April, May, and parts of June have been really hard on at least our manufacturing segment.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further business from finance?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any other committee wanted to give their report?
President Logan, I have just a brief update. As you well know, we met on June 17th. You were at the Projects Committee meeting. Had a very small agenda, but the most significant item on the agenda was the 2020 paving projects. It looks to be about $1,750,000 in paving projects that are on the list. This is according to a program that we use, which was Roadbotics ranking, and it ranked roads in various areas of the city, ranking them from 1 to 5, with 5 being the worst and 1 being the best. So at this point, I think we have more paving projects than we have money, but we will rely on the staff. They know better than we do. We have wants, but the city has needs, and I think our engineering department and public works department, planning department, I think they know better what needs to be done than we as elected officials. So we will leave it up to engineering, public works, and the planning department to rank these and see if we can't get some paving projects rolled out this year. That's all I have. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we have been able to take advantage of is the state contract. And a lot of this work we're going to be able to get started very quickly because we have an in-place bid that we can take advantage of on a per-ton basis.
Yes, sir.
That may be foreigners may not understand that, but it's already pre-bid by the state, and we can avail on that contract, and we can avail to the county's contract as well, and get some of these projects, particularly our major projects, and I'll just use Hunter Creek Road as a good example. It's a very lengthy through road in the city of Northport that has fallen in disrepair. It'll be something that's quite easily to get resurfaced quickly and restriped and make an impact in there. There's several of them, but that's what we want to move forward with.
And I think Mr. Logan President Logan from Finance Committee, one of the reasons we went through this is we knew that our paving was going to be a big problem this year with the weather the last 2 years. I don't want anybody to believe the city's broke. We've been trying to find ways to keep these things moving forward. So we have worked with staff and Judge Hardy to make sure that as the buckets of money are there, we can find ways to do that. But I really got to give kudos to the staff for coming up with, $1.5 to $2 million in savings, almost $2 million with a $1 million down in revenue. That actually means that we come out about $1 million ahead, and hopefully that'll help us with this list. And I'm sure that this list doesn't even scratch the bucket of what needs to be paved around Northport.
I did want to add, and thank you, Councilman Roberts and Mr. McCullum and Councilman Davis for the update through projects. Dovetailing off what Councilman Roberts mentioned in terms of being right side up with $1 million shortfall, one of the issues that came up in projects, again, it's not an issue, it's more of an opportunity, looking at what we call roads that are not paved, but they're unpaved, and they're kind of, so I think we've charged Mr. McCullum's office and Public Works and Engineering to get a list of those roads in the city limits of Northport, and they're more than what we thought. So I want to say it's maybe 9 or 10, in addition to Tom Taylor and Jones. So if nothing else, let's get a list of them, get some costs associated, and see if we can partner with the county so we can start going and scratching them off the list. Tom Taylor, in a manner that's financially feasible. So again, that was talked about in Public Works, and I really appreciate that because again, I didn't know we had more than 2 or 3. I was always thinking Tom Taylor and Jones, but there are more unpaved roads. So we're gonna get a list, and Mr. McCullum and his staff will get some costs and maybe reach out to the county to see if we can partner in a way that we can stretch that dollar a whole lot to address those in another way of paving. So, Councilman Davis, any further comments out of projects?
No, President Logan, but you are correct. Besides Tom Taylor and Jones Road, there are 7 other roads in the same situation.
Yeah, we looked at that, and that may be an opportunity where we just put them on a list and again start looking at ways to scratch them off that list when we get them done. So, any further committee reports? All right, item 10 is public hearing. Again, we had one that was on the agenda that was scheduled for the 7/7/2 hearing. Item 11 is city administrator's business. Mr. McCullum.
Yes, in addition to the list, we do have Tom Taylor Road to be resurfaced as well. As President Logan said, we're trying to partner as much as we can with the county on our low volume roads, and this is a perfect road to do that with, and that's it's been priced. We're going to get that one included in this year's resurfacing project. Let me also remind the council that the League of Municipalities meeting, I think, that was scheduled to be in Tuscaloosa, is now a one-day meeting on July the 23rd in Montgomery, and it's a one-day meeting. And between now and the next council meeting on July the 8th, this council needs to designate its delegate to that meeting. Again, it's a one-day meeting in Montgomery, so share that with you. And that concludes my business.
Thank you. Item 12, departmental business. We have none to report. Item 13 is public comment. We have 3 citizens signed to speak. Our first citizen, make sure I get it right, Miss Takita Carpenter. Good evening, Miss Carpenter.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Takita Carpenter. I reside at 508 Kirkwood Drive in Northport. Coming to you all today to address some flooding that I've been having that started this year. I've been at that location for the last 3 years, and we have not had any flooding up until this year. We maintain the creek alongside where my house is located. We maintain our yard and everything, but there is also debris within the creek that should not be our responsibility to get out of the creek so it can be maintained to put, the rocks and boulders in the creek. You have branches and sticks in the creek. So we don't know actually what's causing this flood, and we don't know if it's coming from upstream, from additional builders putting stuff in the creek, and it's flowing down. But we've had a lot of flooding this year.
Yes, ma'am.
And we just want to know what can be done about it.
Ms. Carpenter, what I'd like to do is get your contact information, because it seems like we need to probably look at Public Works and our storm drain engineering staff to look at that, because if you guys are maintaining what we call the outer edges of the creek and keeping it, and it may be to where we have some debris that through just rain and just whatever just had become just a nuisance.
Yeah, and that may be it, but I'm not certain. Like I said, I do have flood insurance to cover this, but I've had 3 instances. Twice the police have had to come down and monitor it because the flood had got so bad to where it came up to my front door. Once, my neighbor had to call us from work and let us know we have flooding over here.
Okay.
We didn't know anything about it. So, I mean, we're just taking the police off the streets for them to maintain the flooding versus having them out in the community doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Instead of, you know, we coming to some type of solution to get this flooding on the way.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. McCullum, can you coordinate?
Let me, thank you for coming, by the way, and let me assure you that the city will do everything it legally can do to help you.
Okay.
And we will meet our obligation in that regard. And some things that our hands will be tied relative to getting on private property and that sort of thing. A stream bed we don't own a stream bed. But we will do everything that we legally can do to help you, okay?
Okay, so who, do you know, as far as the stream bed or whatnot, who owns it or whatnot? Because if nobody owns it, is it part of the state or?
Well, I can't answer that question because you may own it and not know you own it. You'd have to run your lot lines, and it may include that. Same way with your neighbor on the other side or the ones across. And most streams like that are part of the property owners. It's deeded in their deed, the property is.
Okay.
Ron, would you add anything or take anything away from what I just said?
Okay.
We'll investigate it.
Can you make sure you get your number to me and staff? That way we keep in touch, because again, I can't answer that question. I've seen it to where the Corps engineers may own it. It's technically a navigable waterway. I've seen it where the Corps engineers will make you buy credits on a ditch. So let me get your number again, and I know maybe after the meeting, I hate to make you wait. If you wanted to leave your number with Miss Whitney.
We'll work on it tomorrow. And
Yeah,
we'll staff it in the morning and get started with doing what we can.
Okay, because like I said, I know also that if it is flooding, we have no problem in calling the city, and they come down and they will unclog it. So I'm just trying to see, you know, like I said,
Yes, ma'am.
what's the issue?
Yes, ma'am.
If we own it, then they'll come down and unclog it. So is it your property? Is it our property, or what is it?
I think that's where we want to verify. I want to make sure if it's lot line pushed into the ditch or vice versa.
Okay.
So I want to make sure before you leave, do not leave without, and maybe you give your number to Miss Whitney Dubose, and we can, right here in the corner, Miss Dubose is right there. Maybe we can get your number, and we'll make sure we have somebody contact you, and we can start looking and verifying and making sure that we try to work on this situation.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Our next citizen, Ms. Danita McCautry. Take your time. You sat too long, didn't it? Okay, yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address, and good evening.
Good evening. I'm Danita McCautry. I'm actually a neighbor of hers. My address is 404 Kirkwood Drive. And my house actually sits like right at the level with that creek, and the flooding is terrible.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like a raging river in our backyard. You cannot see any of our backyard. My husband built a bridge over it. It covers the bridge. You can't see it anymore. And it actually brings sand into the yard where it kills the grass. I mean, just sand everywhere. It's like a beach. My husband weed eats the ditch all around because he said he definitely want to see snakes, you know, when they come, because we have had snakes. But if you could find out who owns it. If we own it, fine, we got the flood insurance, but it's like it's stopping up or something. 'Cause
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
actually like this small, like an island in there, a tree stump with dirt that slows it down. It's got to go around it and go through this little space. So it slows it down and bags it up in our yard, and we can't even see the backyard anymore until it recedes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's happened 3 times, and we haven't lived there a year yet.
Can I make sure you get your number to Ms. Dubose? That way, staff will be calling. We're going to make sure we go out and again verify if it's something on where the lot lines are pushed out or vice versa. Okay. Again, I apologize, but without knowing enough about it, and I probably need to go out there and look too. But without knowing enough about it, I just know you got a ditch that's flooding right now, so we need to try to look into it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Come on.
I got pictures if you want to see it, so you don't have to even go out there.
Thank you.
Careful.
Careful. Ms. Carpenter, you want me to give these back to you? You want to?
You can have them.
Okay.
I have them on email.
Okay.
I sent them to my city
Okay.
councilman as well, and we was told there was nothing that could be done about it. Just get flood insurance. So.
I will make sure it goes into the record and make sure staffs get the pictures, and then we can
Okay.
start the callbacks and the communication.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Our next citizen is Ms. Tamaria Madison. Good evening. Good evening.
How you
Please,
doing?
please state your name and address for the record.
Tamaria Madison, 4412 Northwood Lake Drive West. Have another issue about the front yard again.
That's the one where you had the picture, and
And they came out and put sod, but then my husband had eye surgery, so he hadn't been cutting the yard for a while. Found out we had a leak. We had the plumbers out today. They said that they took care of the leak, but they said the reason that the water is standing in our yard could be a drain. It's a big drain in our front yard. And they said that we needed to let you all know so they can come and clean, because that's Northwood Lake, and it'll send all the water where it needs to go. But they think that someone needs to go in that drain to clean it up, because after it rains or whatever, it's water that's just standing in the yard. And one time Brooke sent them over there and they put some sod in the front yard, and that helped. But here it is with all the rain again. It's starting to stand in the yard again, and it's on the city side because of the drain. So I was hoping Ms. Brooke would be here again, because this is something that's been ongoing for years.
yes, ma'am. So we kind of know about it, and we tried to alleviate it. Is it before you get to the mailbox? Is it more of a?
Well, it's actually in the yard where
Okay.
the tree is in the yard.
Okay.
It's a big drain right there, and it's on the city side, because we had an issue that was on my side, but we had the plumbers out. They fixed the pipes and all that, and they explained that y'all probably need to go in the drain and clean it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And then that water start flowing to the lake or wherever it needs to go, but that's on the city side.
All right. I want to make sure Brooke gets your number, because again, if she's probably already got
it should be on her board.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure that 4412 Northwest Lake Drive West, Northwood Lake Drive West,
Yes, right, about that standing water.
standing water.
By the drain.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Madison. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Item 14 is mayor and council members' business. Again, Mayor Aaron is not here tonight. Again, we wish her speedy recovery. She talked to me today, and she just wanted to let everybody know she's doing better, but she needs a few more days to rest and recuperate, and we hope she gets better soon. District 1, Councilman Roberts. Thank you. District 2, I want to just say thank you to Public Works. They've been doing a really good job in our right-of-ways and cleaning. Again, 82 looks great, and some of the aspects of our recycling program have been expanded with that grant that we were awarded, so you should see some expansion of services in terms of our recycling. I am appreciative of Ward coming in with a new to-market hotel for our city. Again, this makes 2, so very appreciative of you bringing something to our city, and council for allowing this to come to fruition. Just as a point of reference for city safety, again, I know we're still under COVID, but some of our numbers have been creeping up, but now they're creeping down. I've looked at some numbers today, so the COVID trends are actually going downward for the last 7 to 8 days, which is promising, but the patient under investigation trend is going up. But again, if I just had to make one consideration or suggestion, everybody keep washing your hands, keep wearing your masks, and we can limit the spread of it, of course, and try to limit our numbers moving into the summer months. Again, let's don't get laxed about it and think everything's okay, but we can still do what we need to do from a personal standpoint. Again, that's all the business I have. District 3, Councilman Hinton. Thank you. District 4, Councilman Davis.
I have nothing.
District 5, Pro Tem Hogg.
I have nothing tonight.
All right, Mr. McCullum, you had one comment.
Compliment our water department. They did an excellent job on alleviating the problem on the water main break over the holidays. Some of our, holidays, Father's Day. Some of our fathers had to work on Father's Day to fix a water main break, but they got on it, took care of it, and I wanted to compliment them for it.
Thank you. Item 15 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg, second by Councilman Davis. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.